Today on StampTV, I'm going to show you an elegant celebration card that can be used for a variety of occasions, featuring the Here Comes the Sun StampTV kit and our new frame and filler incentive stamp set duo. I'm also going to show you some partial embossing with an embossing folder. Let me show you the tools and products you need to make this card project. First, you're going to need some stamps, and like I said, one of the stamps I'm going to use for this card is our new frame and filler stamp set duo, and I'm using the filler portion of that duo. This duo is available to anyone who places a $75 order or more in one order, and you will get this stamp set duo along with a couple other fun new incentives. Then I'm also going to use some of the stamps from the new Here Comes the Sun StampTV kit, and these stamps all come from the Flower Builder set. I have this group of leaves, and then I have this single flower. I have the 3 dots, and this is the smaller version. There is a larger set of 3 dots and a smaller one. I want to show you how I use this accent. And then I have this greeting, and this greeting says, "It's time to celebrate." So let me make sure that's on straight. There we go. Okay, because that's probably going to be the first thing I do. All right, along with these stamps, we're going to need some ink, and I'm using some of the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I'm also using some of the Gina Designs Kraft ink, some of our Red Hot ink, and some of our grass green ink. This is going to be a nice, vibrant card. Then I have some of our Prismatic Glitter, and this is the color Frozen. This is the incentive for anyone who spends $50 or more in a single order. You will get this along with a really nice pattern paper pack called Garden Tour. I'm using an embossing folder, and this embossing folder is by Lifestyle Crafts. This is called Whimsy, and it comes in a set of 2. Let me show you what that package looks like here. This is the set of 2. The one I'm going to be using is the bottom one, but you also get this one when you purchase this set. So this is really fun, and I noticed that these Lifestyle Crafts embossing folders, they emboss a little bit more deeply than some of the other folders that I've used, so I'm really enjoying these. Now for cardstock, I'm using the Gina Designs white cardstock in the layering weight and also the heavy base weight for my card base, and I'm using some of our black Onyx cardstock. I have some 1/4-inch pop dots, some scissors and tape, and then some of our black Onyx Organdy ribbon. I'm also going to be using my Cuttlebug and my Score Buddy. So to begin, I'm going to start with this piece of cardstock that's cut 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. And I'm going to start with the greeting. I'm going to stamp this greeting right here down at the bottom. And I am going to use some of the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Now this ink, you can use our Gina Designs Black Onyx ink as well, but my pad is so juicy right now and this lettering is so delicate that I actually want to use a pad that's a little more dried out, so I'm using my Memento pad for that. And I'm going to stamp that, excuse my head if it gets in the way, but I'm going to stamp that right down here at the bottom of this panel. There we go. It's time to celebrate. Okay, so now my next step is to take this particular panel, and let me grab my Cuttlebug and set that up. I'm going to start with an A and a B plate, and I want to emboss this panel, but I want to leave the area where my greeting is, I want to leave that with no embossing. So I'm going to line that up, and I'm going to use this pattern to line things up by making sure that it's even between these 2 dots and that it looks like it's straight across, using those dots as my guide to make sure that it's perfectly straight. And that looks pretty good. So, you know what? I'm going to bring that down just a little bit more though, because I want to make sure that the embossing doesn't go up over the greeting. So let's get it in between those dots again, and I'll line it up down the sides and make sure that it's straight. Yeah, that's a good spot. Okay. So now I'm going to run that through, putting the other B plate on, and you're going to find that these Lifestyle Crafts folders are a little bit tighter going through your Cuttlebug, but that's okay. They really leave a beautiful deep impression. Look at this impression you get out of that. Isn't that beautiful? So deeply embossed and such detail. And I like that they don't crack the cardstock at all. All right, so now I'm going to take this piece of cardstock and my Score Buddy, and I want to emboss a line going across the bottom to separate the embossed area from the printed area. And I just want to make sure that my writing isn't going over that 4.5-inch mark, and it's not, so I can flip it around and score that and make a nice bold score line. And that really finishes off the bottom nicely. Okay, and then this panel is going to go on top of my black onyx layer. So we'll attach that right now. And I'm using some of the mono adhesive. This is the dot adhesive. I really like that. It's repositionable at first. You can reposition it, but once you really stick it down and just leave it for couple minutes, then it's permanent. So I like that flexibility. Okay. All right, now I'm going to work on my focal image. Here I have a rectangle of cardstock, and I'm going to grab that filler stamp along with some of my Kraft ink, and I'm going to ink up that stamp. And sometimes people don't know that they can mix rubber stamps and clear stamps together. You can do all kinds of things. And I'm going to stamp that kind of in the middle there. So now I have a nice little textured pattern right in there. Now I'm going to use the grass green and this stem pattern from the Flower Builders stamp set from our new kit and ink that up using that grass green. And then I'm going to stamp that right in the middle, and that's going to extend a little above and below that pattern. There we go. Oh, that's so pretty. Nice and crisp. And now I'm going to grab the red hot ink, and you'll notice that this particular piece of greenery here does not have any stems for flowers. But you can add flowers wherever you want them, and I'm going to do this so it's a little bit more whimsical. There is a stamp in the Flower Builder set that has 3 stems that coordinates with this particular stamp, but you can use the flower by itself and create a more whimsical looking pattern just by stamping those flowers randomly around that greenery. So I'm going to use the red hot ink, and I'm going to stamp one flower here, one down here, and I think I'll stamp one right around here. There. And I like to do things in 3s when I can. I think it gives it a nice balanced look. Now I'm going to grab that Memento ink again, that Tuxedo black, and I'm going to add a little bit of Whimsy to this focal image by using this little stamp with the 3 dots. And I'm going to start up here at the top, and I'm going to just stamp it right here, like that. Then I'm going to turn it so it's not exactly the same, and stamp one right about here, and then one down here on this side. And that's how I like to use that little accent. It just gives it a little bit of something, and it helps bring out the black that's in those layering pieces. So this is going to layer on a panel of black onyx. And again, I will do that with this mono adhesive. Like that. And I'm going to use some of the 1/4-inch pop dots to adhere this to my card. So I'm going to put those on now. Just going to put one in each of the four corners, and then I'm going to put this aside because we're going to add a little touch of ribbon to this card. So I'll just put that aside. Now, back to this panel here, I'm going to add a little bit of ribbon across the center. And I'm going to then do kind of an interesting little tie bow onto the side. All right, so we have a little piece here that's going to go right across the center of the card. And then before I do the rest of this ribbon, I'm going to mount the whole entire thing onto my card base. And I'm going to add a little bit of tape right on that ribbon area to make sure that doesn't come up from the back. Now that I've adhered the ribbon across the center of the panel and mounted it onto my card base, I'm going to cut one extra little piece of ribbon here that I'm going to make a little tie. Now before I do that, I'm going to adhere this panel off to the side a little bit like that. And you saw me put these 1/4 inch pop dots on here. And I'm going to place that off center, a little onto the side, like that. Then I'm going to slip this ribbon underneath, and I'm just going to tie it in a little knot here, like that. And then struggle with it a little until it's laying the way I want. And then just trim a little point there and a little point there. Now I told you that I was going to use a little bit of the Gina K Designs Prismatic Glitter, and I did on my finished card, so I want to show you that. Very easy to do. You just take a little bit of glue and dot it into the center of the flower and then the little white dots of the flower, just to add a touch of sparkle. And here's the one that I made. I'm not sure if you can see that sparkle real well, but it certainly looks pretty in my light here, and you get a lot of shimmer and shine from this particular glitter. Our glitter is just so sparkly, and what's nice about it is you can glitter over any color and you won't lose the color, you'll just add the shine. So there is my finished card project. Although this beautiful filler stamp creates a great backdrop for your focal image, you can get a similar look by using an open rectangle die or die cutting a rectangle inside a piece of cardstock to create an opening. Then sponge the area inside with Kraft or other pastel inks. Although this method won't have as much texture as our filler stamp, it's another fun way to create a backdrop for your focal images.